Perfect. So the first question I have here is, could you describe the process of how you decided your mother needed more care and how you felt looking at the different care options available?
Well, it was a long time coming with my mother, and I'm sure other people have felt the same way. You start to realize that your mother needs more care, and you try and do the best you can each day to help them because in my mother's case, she was really against leaving the house, her home that she's been in for 40 years, where she raised her family, and she was really resistant to leaving it. But a year ago, my father died, and he wasn't good physically, but mentally he was able to keep her on track. But with her dementia after he died, I really had to go there every day and maintain her and her home every single day. It was a lot of work. And then at one point, just recently, I ended up in the hospital. So then something happens that makes you make the decision. Going there every day wasn't an option. I was in the hospital. I was there for a long term. And right away, I had to find another situation for her where she'd be safe, because at her age, and it had happened last summer, where she went out into the she was on the driveway getting the mail, and she fell. So I got a phone call, and I had to be there quickly, and that's what I did. I got there quickly. She was all bruised and banged up and
Mhm.
bleeding. She'd fallen on the driveway. And we took her to the emergency. I called an ambulance, took her to the emergency. And I knew that when I was in the hospital, I couldn't do that. She was on her own. So I had to find something that would be good for her right away. And I found Home Care Hub. I was really lucky, actually.
Right. Well, I'm glad to hear we helped you in that sense. So could you describe the process of working with Home Care Hub from, the first initial contact and reaching out to all the way to moving your mother into Connie's home?
Well, one of the reasons I wanted to do this video is because I'd never heard of it. So the reason that I found out about Home Care Hub, it was really funny because a month before I got sick, I was in a parking lot at a Food Basic, and I saw a truck with information about home care, and that it was like not very expensive. That's what I find. It's not the most expensive option, but it's not the cheapest option either. It's kind of in the
Mhm.
middle. So when I saw that, I waited for the person to come to the car. Actually, was it like a truck or a van? I don't remember exactly. I think it was a van. She came to the van, and I stopped her and I asked her questions. So that happened a month before. And when this happened with me, that I was not available for my mother, right away I thought of calling. And luckily I was able to get my mom in, which is great. It was a great and lucky thing for us.
Mhm. So how was working with Nancy? Was it kind of more of a personalized experience? Was it good for you? Did she meet all of your
To
needs?
tell you the truth, the first contact that I had when I called that number, because the lady that I met in the parking lot was actually Connie, who runs the home. But she gave me a pamphlet, was like a flyer with the information. When I called that number, I got the doctor, Dr. Vipin. So, I did actually speak with Nancy. It was the doctor who initiated this whole movement that I spoke to, which was another lucky break because I got a lot more information, and it sounded really good. It sounded like a really good option, and he was really good. He was very informative. He took the time to talk to me, which was amazing, and he explained a lot of things. So I felt really comfortable right from the start.
Right. Well, that's good to hear. So yeah, Vipin Nakor is our CEO of our company, and he really takes the time to try and be as most personal as possible.
He really is.
Um, so how is your mother doing now? Is she happy in the home, and is she happy with the care she's receiving from Connie?
Well, it's a funny question because she's mostly happy. I mean, at first she wanted to go home because she has dementia. So her whole concept was going home. But at sometimes she wasn't even sure where home was, but she wanted to go home. And it took some time. Connie had some rough spots where she wanted to leave, and I don't know. Connie being very calm, and she somehow managed to get my mother comfortable enough that I can. That's another thing. I was really worried about going there. I thought if I went there, she would want to come home with me. After I came out of the hospital. So I really hesitated to go there because I thought as soon as she saw me, she'd start crying that she wanted to go home with me. But the first time I went, she was really quite okay. She was like, hello, and she said goodbye, and she hugged me. It was really unusual. So I'm thinking that my mom is really getting comfortable there, even though sometimes she says she wants to go home. Deep down, I think she's okay. She's comfortable.
Yeah. And so what about the quality of care there? Do you think that they're meeting everything that your mother needs very well?
I think so. I think Connie is doing her best. Before my mother went into care with her, she asked me what my mother likes to eat. She asked me a lot of questions about her. And she was also the one who went to my mother's house to pick her up. And I couldn't do it because, of course, I was indisposed. But she went there. She convinced her to go with her. And, it worked out really well. But the care is amazing because the home is just like a home. It's like a house. Basically a lot like my mother's bungalow where she was living before, with a backyard and everything, which makes me feel really comfortable, because what better situation could I put her in? She wasn't in an institution. She wasn't locked away. She wasn't heavily sedated, so she would stay in her room all day long. She's actually in a home that's really quite nice. It's renovated. The kitchen is clean. The basement is lovely. I mean, it's a nice situation. I don't think she'd be living in a better situation for where she is right now mentally.
Mhm. I'm glad to hear that she's doing well and better. That's what we like to hear from our families. So now, how have you been doing now that your mother is in a home? Are you happy with the care she's receiving? Can you now feel a little bit more relaxed? How are you doing?
Yeah, there's a high level of relaxation now for me. I don't have that sense of urgency every day to prepare food and take it to her because she wasn't cooking for herself. I don't have that sense of urgency that I have to make sure the food's in the fridge, in the freezer, everything. Uh, I mean, it was a lot of work. For a year I did that. Every single day I went there. I actually moved closer to Toronto, to her house, because I was living out by Barrie. So it was an hour away. So more than a year ago, I think it was 3 years ago, I moved closer just to take care of my parents. And since she's been in Connie's care, I mean, I can relax. I can take a day off. I can do nothing if I want. It's really quite nice.
Well, I'm
Big
glad to hear. I'm
Yeah,
glad to hear that you're relaxing a little bit more than before.
big change.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it would be a big change, and I salute you for taking care of your parents so extensively over the years. It's not an easy thing to do to be a caregiver, that's for sure.
No, it's not. But who else was going to do it? I have
Hmm.
no choice.
Yeah, that's I think one of the challenges really share care is trying to pinpoint at is that it's really difficult on families.
Yeah, it is.
So the last question I have here is, do you think share care is a valuable alternative to traditional senior housing? So for example, like long-term care homes, retirement homes, and so on.
Yeah, I think it's a viable option. It's a more positive atmosphere. I go there. My mother's sitting out on the front porch, with Connie, and she enjoys being outside. I mean, if she was in long-term care, how often would she be able to do that? And no, it's completely, I think, 100% better. I mean, it makes me feel good too that my mother's in that situation instead of being locked away in an institution. It wasn't where I wanted her to be. You
Mhm.
know.
Yeah. Well, I don't really have any more questions unless there is something else you wanted to address here while I'm also here.
No, I'm just really happy with the situation. I'm grateful that I found you guys. I wish more people knew about it, and that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this video. I'd like
Yeah.
to share with more people that this option is available.